This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Minus64, our honored patron and Switch Knight.
Hey everyone, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch enthusiast. And we have a heck of a show for you planned up this week, everybody. We are going to be talking all about, we got a few great games to talk about this week. I played Morphite, you dove into Sine, and I realized I say dive into quite a lot. When I edit the podcast, I realize I say that a lot, so I gotta try and mix it up a little bit.
There are a lot of words that both of us kind of gravitate towards pretty often, especially when we're talking off the cuff without any planning whatsoever.
Right, but we gotta broaden our vocabulary, man. We gotta get a little more, break out of our habits. And we had a Nintendo Direct just a couple of days ago, all about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so we can tear that apart for details.
I'm gonna tear that apart so much. I was so excited. I did not expect to be this hyped for this game, Casey.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm tempered a little bit.
Wow.
And I am tempered my excitement because of just, I'll go into it when we go into the Direct, but there's like one or two things I realized that I'm not like head over heels in love with this game. It looks phenomenal. I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's just missing a couple things that I personally need in an RPG. Just things that aren't quite custom for my style of RPG. Let me put it that way.
Okay, but I don't know. That's a little surprising, but of course everyone has their own tastes.
Yeah, look, a game could be amazing. It could be like the game of the year. Because you gotta remember, there's people out there who don't like Mario Odyssey, not because they think it's a bad game, but they just don't like platformers, like I say, just
in general.
It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine someone who might not like Mario Odyssey, but there's going to be people who it doesn't work for.
I agree. That's absolutely valid, and I definitely want to discuss that later on today.
Yes, we're going to do a little catch-up, because, I'm sure we've both been making some interesting progress in that game as well.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to go over just one little piece of quick cast meta. We have a tournament I'm going to be running this Saturday. I think it's about time we actually organize a Splatoon 2 tournament, so
yes.
Why the heck not? I mean, some people were asking for ARMS, which we noticed something today, and this is a little bit surprising, but ARMS has a much livelier community than the Pokken group that we have, trying to go in the Discord chat there. That group maybe says something once a couple of days, but the ARMS group is pretty active consistently throughout the week, so that really has a pretty diehard group of just fans, even if they're not to say diehard, but just people who like it enough to never kind of let it totally fade out of their interest.
Yeah, and I feel like that's where ARMS thrives. There's going to be lots of diehard fans for it that'll stick with it till the end. Yeah,
I'm gonna say it's a slow burn game. It's a game that maybe the people that I've seen don't play it passionately, super competitively, but they play it just like kind of like Splatoon, where like they just kind of always play it a little bit throughout the lifespan of their Switch here so far.
Yeah, it's a good Switch game to have in your arsenal, and I think it's definitely worth that continuous dedication.
Does make me a little sad though, because I am not able to find as many Pokken competitors in the chat room as much. So I have relied mostly on just random online fights and the Switch Fest, or finding people in person to fight in that game. But
right. I feel like just for the temperament of our Discord chat, we're such casual players, and Pokken is such a competitively minded game. It might not be as popular because of it.
That is true. That is probably a fair observation that, like, yeah, because Pokken is a game with a higher skill cap. It requires a little bit more dedication to be at that really competitive level, and not everybody really has time for that. So, yeah, that might be the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to distract from ARMS, because ARMS can get really hardcore and interesting, but Pokemon has its own depth.
Totally, yeah. Let's go and talk about what we've been playing this week and shoot on over to the game.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so we have a pretty interesting variety of games here. You got to take a little spin with Slime Sand this week. So even though this is an older game, it came out, older.
I believe early August is when it came out.
Right. This is still kind of a timely review since they said within the next month from this episode of the podcast, there should be the new free episode or a kind of a semi-sequel to the game that's going to be a free download.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering just how much I'm enjoying this game so far, I am actually pretty excited for even more Slime Sand content.
Oh, why don't you tell us then? What is Slime Sand about? Is this some sort of samurai goop?
No, it is not a samurai goop. It's actually a pretty cute and adorable goop.
Okay.
So the premise of Slime Sand is that you're a little cute slime thing, and a worm eats you. And now you're inside of a worm, and you have to go through various stages and worlds to escape the inside of this mother worm.
Is this like the story of Lemmiwinks?
Yeah, I have no idea what Lemmiwinks is.
That's okay. But the couple of people who watch South Park know what I'm talking about.
Oh, right. Okay. I got you now. I thought it was some weird, Gremlins movie that I haven't seen, but...
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Slime Sand is actually, pretty adorable. Looking at screenshots of it, even if you haven't played the game, you can see just how vivid the art style is. The art actually reminds me of pixelated drawings on a chalkboard.
Okay, all right. That's I think I've seen what that looks like. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so it's like a dark blue-green background with white outlines for the staging, and then green and red colors for different platforming interactions. The game itself is a platformer.
Okay.
Right from the get-go, I noticed it's actually really similar to Super Meat Boy in the style of platforming that it employs.
Okay, so you're this little dude, and it's just basically simple jumping, platforming, dodging obstacles kind of thing?
Right. So the stages are set in single screens. So you have a screen laid out and you platform from one corner to the end point of the screen. And that screen counts as a stage. Once you get to the end of the stage, it zooms out and zooms you into the next stage. And then there's multiple stages per level. Once you get past a certain number of levels, you go to the end of a world where you have to face a final boss.
Okay, actual bosses. Do you have any kind of attacks with this guy here?
No, so this is what's most interesting about this game. It's, you're just a slime, you can jump, you can air jump a second time, and you can dash. Mm-hmm. Now, jumping off of a wall resets those, so you can jump to a wall, jump around, and you're very maneuverable that way.
All right.
You also have the ability to morph through green objects by holding down a specific button, and that lets you pass through green objects and get across the obstacle.
So green objects you could land on if you want to, but then you could hit this button to kind of phase your way through them.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can hold down that same button to slow down time. So if you're in a difficult situation where you need more precise movements, you can hold down the morph button for a limited amount of time and slow down the maneuver to get the precision just right.
Obscure reference coming. Is he from the Slime Sand come from the village in Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton then?
No.
Okay.
Very obscure yet awesome reference, Casey.
Thank you. Thank you. I knew you'd get it.
Of course I would. But anyway, where was I? Okay, yeah, so as I mentioned previously, you have single screen stages, and you get from one point to the other and then finish the stage. Now, what I love about this game is just how fluid everything feels. No pun intended.
Yeah.
You start off and you jump and you bounce off of the walls and you jump over platforms, you avoid spikes or the red surfaces which kill you, and just all of the maneuvering you can do feels so smooth and so precise.
Got good tight controls.
Yes, it has very tight controls, kind of reminiscent to Super Meat Boy. And whenever I'm playing the game, all of my deaths feel justified.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
I don't feel like I ever got cheated out of defeating the stage because of a loss or because the controls messed me up in some way.
Is there a punishment for that death? Do you have a finite number of lives, or you just go back and try again?
No. So you can have an infinite number of lives in this game, and in fact, whenever you die, it zooms out and zooms you back in for you to immediately start the stage all over again.
Okay.
So once you die, boom, you start over really quickly. You die, start over, die, start over, die, start over, etc. You're gonna die a lot because this game is very difficult.
So it is on the same kind of difficulty level as a Meat Boy.
Yeah, I would say it's really gunning for the Super Meat Boy style of platforming, while having its own unique take on everything.
Okay, so what do you think though really makes it unique? Like, what features? I mean, I've never actually played Meat Boy myself. I've just seen it. So, what features of this game separate it from there? Yeah, so what I actually like about this game is that, yes, there are bosses. In fact, the stage structure of the game is kind of reminiscent to Super Mario games, where, you're going through a path, and after the worlds, you fight a boss, and then you go on to a next set of worlds and fight another boss, etc., 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 until you reach the end. Okay. It's not just a contiguous series of platforming, or is it just one long stage? It's short stages, but in the end, there's a boss. Okay. And the way bosses work in this game are actually really intriguing. Your slime son doesn't have offensive capabilities whatsoever. Right. Like, you don't jump over enemies to kill them. You don't have a gun to shoot or anything like that. You just move around. You jump around really quickly. You do your dashes and then get to the next part of the stage. But the bosses are extensions of that. For example, the first boss is actually a worm thing enemy that's coming down from the ceiling, and it starts trying to grab at you, trying to shoot out slime for you to dodge. And the way that you defeat it is if you go platform yourself skillfully into a certain area in its mouth, and you just go in, and boom, that deals damage, and you continuously do that in a pattern to defeat the boss. Okay, I getcha. So you got to do a lot of gymnast kind of acrobatics around him to get him to take damage. Right, exactly. It's a unique take because you're not actively fighting the boss. You're essentially maneuvering around a bullet hell style platforming puzzle, and then you take care of the boss that way. It's very cool seeing the slime fight a boss without actually any weapons. That's cool. That's neat. So it sounds like you've been having a good time with it there. And, it's crushingly difficult. So if you get frustrated easily, you might not enjoy this game quite as much. And I do want to note one last thing. At the end of each level, you're actually shown your exact stats. So it keeps track of your jumps, your deaths, even the dashes, the number of super jumps you do, how much time you're in a morph. So this type of game is actually really enticing to speedrunners who want to optimize getting past each level. I gotcha. I feel like this is the game that's really going to make speedrunners want to beat it as quickly as possible and optimize the route. Regarding the aesthetics now, like, I know for some people, and me in particular, the thing that, like, deters me from Meat Boy is kind of like the Binding of Isaac situation. It's a very, even though it's just like a little piece of, like, chopped meat and it's cartoony, it's kind of a gory kind of thing, and just, you know, it has that kind of grittiness to it. Is this generally kind of a more optimistic or a brighter kind of take on that, or is it also kind of like, you know, splatfesty?
Well, I definitely would not say that it's a lighter take. This game's actually quite sarcastic in its dialogue, and it can be a little bit grotesque at some points.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say it's consistently grotesque like Super Meat Boy or Binding of Isaac.
Okay, yeah, because those games do a lot of like disturbing imagery, even though it is with those cartoony characters. And like I said, that kind of like makes me not as interested to stay with it. I was kind of looking at this, and I was looking at that graphic style like you mentioned there, and I was like, oh, this looks like something that could at least feel a little brighter than that.
I definitely think that if Binding of Isaac or Meat Boy deterred you because of the graphics, this would not bother you. Like this wouldn't trigger any gross feelings just by the art style.
All right, very cool.
I do want to say one last thing. I love the secondary elements of this game. When you want to take a break from normal platforming, you actually have a lot of other external things you can do. You can customize a home. You can meet the Slime Son's family. There's mini games that you can play, like a submarine shooting game reminiscent of Earth Atlantis. It's pretty cool.
Oh, you know, I like that kind of stuff because, you know, especially if you're just banging your head against a wall for, 20 minutes trying to beat a stage, you need something to take a break from and, get your mind off it, or just, break the monotony of dying against the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool idea to include that little, little Easter eggs and little extra stuff that you can play.
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah, and so hearing that there's new stuff coming up, it's actually really exciting to hear.
Very cool, very cool. And that was an eShop title, right?
Yes, it's $12 on the Nintendo eShop. I feel like it's worth it. If you like this style of platforming game and you are willing to die a lot and fight through the frustration of losing a lot, this game is worth it. In fact, I feel like I would probably go to this more than I would go back to Goner.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, I forgot about Goner, right?
It kind of scratches a similar itch for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, speaking games with similar itches, I know that a lot of people have been looking at Morphite and keep making these same kind of links between it.
Right?
Yeah, comparisons between it. And just from the surface, it kind of reminds a lot of people of No Man's Sky.
Honestly, I haven't played the game myself, but looking at screenshots, it looks like a lower resolution No Man's Sky. Even from the color scheme.
Yes. It definitely, I will say that it's definitely a lower, I call it maybe a lower polygon. Yeah.
Absolutely,
style.
It's a lower polygon, yeah.
Yeah. It has that Star Fox kind of aesthetic, but really good colors, very sharp. And yes, it does have a No Man's Sky vibe, but it also kind of feels a little bit, I'm going to say Metroid Prime-ish.
Oh,
definitely carries that kind of a feeling with it too, in that it is a little plot-based. So in Morphite, you are this, girl living on a space station with a surrogate father, just kind of helping him out with the shop, going out and, collecting minerals for him and stuff like that. And they talk about this material called Morphite that's like so super scarce. It's pretty much extinct now, but it was super valuable. They make illusions that it can basically let you make anything that you want out of it. So, she goes off on one of these little, scavenger missions for her father there, and, of course, she finds some of it, and then people start hunting her for it, and now you're suddenly in this kind of situation where it's like, okay, I don't know why this stuff is, why I was able to find this stuff. It seems like it has some link to her history, and rather than get her father involved in the danger, she decides, I'm just going to go run off and try to find more of this stuff, or follow the clues to who these people are on my own.
Right.
And
okay.
So there is a story to this, but it plays out between two basic modes. You have this spaceship mode where there's a big map, like a No Man's Sky thing, and it's like infinitely large. Like there's just an endless number of planets and solar systems that you can jump between, and but you have a limited amount of fuel. Your ship has to recharge every time you jump to a few solar systems away. But while your ship recharges, you can go and pick a planet and you can drop down onto it. And then when you're dropped down on the planet, you can explore it and you can scan life forms with your little scanner, and that information you can eventually sell at space stations for money, and you can blow up rocks. You could try to find different ores, materials. There's all sorts of, some planets have civilizations living on them. Some planets are icy. Some are, really hot. Some are too hot to venture into until you upgrade your space suit. All sorts of things on there, lots of stuff to discover, and it's really fun to poke around, and it's pretty easy to poke around them, because wherever you go, you can drop a beacon, summon your drop ship, and it'll take you back to your spaceship and move on away.
Taking that soundbite of your description, Casey, it literally sounds exactly as if you're describing No Man's Sky.
Okay, all right.
It's almost exactly the same.
I wasn't sure if No Man's Sky had a story to it at all, or anything like that.
It has a pretty vague story, and it doesn't really have that level of a narrative. There aren't any characters you're really talking to. Okay. And you have a vague goal to reach the very center of the galaxy, but that's mostly it.
I gotcha. Okay, so then, yeah, that part of it definitely is similar. But there are a lot of planets you're going to meet that advance the plot. Like, I got to a planet where there's these, like, little elephant people who are walking around, and you actually have, like, a little sidekick with you, this little flying cat robot named Kit Kat, who's a very sarcastic and very funny character, might add. I really enjoy Kit Kat in this game.
So it's an actual character.
Yeah, he's an actual character. He just kind of gives exposition to the player on a few things here and there. Okay. But, yeah, and Mira herself, the main character, she's like, there is a tie. There's some reason, something with her past that why the Morphite reacts to her in the way it does. And when you do find Morphite, it's very Metroid Prime-ish in that they unlock new powers for you. So the first one I got lets me have like grenades that I can throw these little bombs at things. Eventually you can get like a little robot dog that follows you around and helps you in battles. Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of cool. You can also find little things that can upgrade your armor in 100 different ways. You can, like I said, raise your different resistances to damages, increase the speed that your scanner works, things like that. But you have to have the right ore that you've dug up. And there's like all types of different ore and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, there's actually like civilizations to explore, people to meet, side missions to take on. Or you can ignore all that and just say, I'm going to go and fly off in some random direction and just see what I can find, which is perfectly valid way to play it because it is super relaxing. It's very chill. There's a great soundtrack. I like the, has that good ambient kind of sound. And even when you're flying around space, there's a few random things that happen here or there. Though the space section probably, I feel like it could have used a little more stuff to do in space mode. I would like.
Did you actually fight anyone in space, or were there dogfights?
Yeah, like every so often it says like there's some pirate showed up and what do you want to do? Do you want to retreat or fight them or bargain with them? And if you fight them, you just kind of like aim your guns and, you try to shoot this moving target. It's nothing too fancy. And you can also upgrade your ship in a bunch of ways. Maybe later on you get into some more interesting fights or you might have to maneuver through some asteroids here and there. But I feel like more could have been done there because I feel like that if that was equally as interesting and in-depth as the planet exploration, this would have been up one more level. It's still a great game. I still really like what it is, but I feel like that's a section of it that could have been a little more, deeper.
Overall, I'm actually quite surprised at just how much this sounds like the No Man's Sky experience of its launch. And considering No Man's Sky was a full-fledged $60 game release, while this one is a sub $20 indie release. I'm impressed with how much Morphite seems to provide that experience.
Honestly, the people I've talked to with players all kind of feel the same way, that it is a comparable experience to that. There's a couple of like little flaws, but I think they're going to fix in an upcoming update. But like I said, the scanning of the monsters or any life form that you find, it needs like a lock-on feature, because anytime a monster or one of these creatures is moving, it's impossible to keep your scanner aimed on them. So they need to like do something to fix that.
Gotcha.
But,
was that an intentional choice for them? Maybe it's part of the gameplay they wanted?
I don't think so, because I think what they're actually going to add is motion controls in the controller, because it's just like impossible to aim at anything that's moving, even like just crawling speed. You know, you don't have a very fine control of your scanner. So I just think it's a thing they didn't tweak quite yet, which is going to be dealt with in the update there.
Yeah. So it sounds like if you really wanted that original No Man's Sky experience with a touch of Metroid, this sounds like the game for you.
I think it's I think it's it needs that. Yeah. I love the exploration. I love exploration, and I love just chilling out and seeing what I can see and not being pressured to follow the story.
I agree. Now I do want to give No Man's Sky a bit of credit. They've gotten really far since launch, releasing new free content continuously, and it is a different game than it was before, but ultimately we're comparing this to launch No Man's Sky as opposed to No Man's Sky as it is now.
I honestly, I kind of even prefer this art style. It's just more my style. I like that how much is left to the imagination. I think they do a great job with the polygons as is. And when I see a monster and I just see enough details to know what it is, I feel like it still leaves enough that your brain kind of fills in a lot of the gaps in there, and that I don't know, that just stimulates my my imagination.
Right, so it's kind of like what pixel art does for 2D graphics, but in the 3D,
it's
3D
just like
realm.
It's just a 3D realm version of that, which is hard to do because I am not generally a big fan of 3D polygon characters. Like, I couldn't play most DS games that did that because I just don't like that in general. They still manage to be sharp and colorful. So anyway, Morphite, I'll be tinkering around with that whenever I get a chance, just to when I want to chill out and cruise the galaxy.
It does seem like a Zen game that you'd want to, if you feel like delving into an exploration game, this is it. This is definitely it.
Yeah. All right, so we have both been still playing. I imagine we're not, despite the fact that I hear so many people who've already finished it. I imagine we're both still playing Mario Odyssey this week.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
And I definitely want to avoid stage and level in Kingdom spoilers as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because people have been really particular about that online nowadays, and I definitely want to honor that for those people. But what I personally wanted to discuss were the controls, the motion controls that I've been trying out recently for it. Have you been able to play it single player at all, Casey?
No, I've only picked it up in 2-player mode. Okay,
so the motion controls issues are practically non-existent in the co-op mode. But a lot of people are having issues playing this game in handheld mode with those motion controls, Casey.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to controlling Cappy with a single player, a lot of it is controlled using the motion of the Joy-Cons.
Okay.
Yeah, so for example, if you want to do a spiral motion, you have to...
Oh, we've done that, the one where he does the ring attack, basically, and you just kind of flick the controller to the side, right?
So you would essentially shake the controller fully to the side, and then it would spin Cappy around you. Pushing the both controllers downwards will roll Cappy forward, while pushing the Joy-Con controllers upwards throws Cappy up in the air. All this stuff is really easy to do while you're in docked mode with free Joy-Cons, but imagine that type of control scheme on the handheld mode. It's impossible.
Okay, yeah, I could see that being especially if you're like on a bus or something. You don't want to be flicking things around.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because those types of controls really aren't replicated on the stick. You just have a subset of Mario's moveset unavailable to you in handheld mode.
Okay, alright, that's a reasonable complaint.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised that this is how Nintendo set up the motion controls for this game. It's not something that I would have experienced at all if I didn't, if I was just playing this in co-op mode.
I will note, though, ever since Mario Odyssey released, I have noticed a marked increase in the number of Switches I see on my morning commute.
Really?
Yeah, I barely would see it, honestly. I might have seen one person with a Switch per week. I feel like I see a different person every day on the train now, ever since, and they're all playing Mario Odyssey. So I think that this game has really brought out a lot of people who don't want to just play it at home, who have been bringing out the Odyssey on their trips to and from work.
Yeah, I feel like with Super Mario Odyssey, it's a bit of there's two factors to that. I feel like they really ramped up production of the Switch itself, so there are a lot more Switches on the shelves. Plus, such an exciting game to drag people in like Super Mario Odyssey. It's a 1-2 punch for Nintendo.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, though, honestly, and without giving any specifics about the story, though, I have to say, though, well, let me ask you at least, what is the last, or how far have you gotten, let's say? Have you gotten past, let's say, a halfway point, or have you made it to New Donk City that everyone has seen?
Yes. I just got there, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to say that I feel like the flow of this game is really brilliant, especially in comparison to other Mario games, in that they've managed to find a way to add a actual narrative flow to the game in a way that no other Mario game has done before, at least none that I've played. Like, if you look back at Mario 64, you just have, like, all right, here's a world, or here's the worlds I can go to now. Once you get enough stars, you go to the next worlds that you open up access. Or, like every other Mario game, you beat World 1, you go to World 2, etc.
Right. Even in Super Mario 3D World or Super Mario Galaxy, it was just a consecutive series of unlocked worlds that you just go to over and over.
Yeah.
You're right, the stages before getting to New Donk City is structured relatively similarly to how Super Mario games were in the past.
Mm-hmm. But this one actually manages to throw in along the journey as you unlock, worlds, and you start to feel like you're getting into the flow and you understand how this game is going to go. But they've managed to throw a few curveballs, and there's even some nice surprises in terms of story twists and unexpected detours along the way that I was like, oh, I've never seen a Mario game do this. Like, I was like honestly surprised by some of the places that showed up and how they showed up. And I was like, oh wow, I was honestly impressed with how they did that. And they usually incorporated some sort of story advancement.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I never really thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm. And to top it all off, again, I just finished New Donk City, or not finished it, but I got through like the main plot of that area there, and the main, mission you have to do there. I feel like it was a crescendo. Like, I almost feel like they turned New Donk City into a celebration of just you and how you've been doing in the game so far. It feels like, I don't know if it's actually halfway through the game or not, but I feel like they are celebrating you reaching some sort of milestone in the game, and it has this amazing where they actually incorporate the the song, the jump up star
up in the air.
Yeah,
Jump
the
up
way they
in the
incorporate that is possibly, I'm going to say, one of the most memorable gaming sequences of the Mario series, of maybe of most games in general. It's just really, it got me pumped. Even Amelie, who has no real tie to Mario and stuff was really kind of getting caught up in the excitement and the atmosphere of this stage, that actually didn't have a plot significance. It just felt like we're here to celebrate Mario and you playing this game.
Well, that's what I love about Nintendo games as a whole. They really hone in on the joy element of the games. They want to make you feel like you're having fun, and the moment you're referring to was really just a culmination of that philosophy.
Yeah. I had to stop playing after that. Honestly, that it felt like
a good stopping point.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, we were playing it for like 4 hours straight that night, and it was one of those things where it's like, all right, 15 minutes, and then we gotta go to sleep. And like 2.5 hours later, we're there. But it really felt like, you know what? That is like the perfect, like, crescendo, like I said, just like this great climax for the evening. I felt accomplished, and I'm like, let me go turn this off, and then the next time we play, we'll see where we get to next.
So I don't know personally how this is, like how far into the game New Donk City is, but I've heard comparisons that once you get to the New Donk City points, it's kind of reminiscent of the moment when you jump off of the plateau in Breath of the Wild. That's
really?
When the game
So
opens up.
Oh, wow. All right.
So, I mean, I can't confirm that, but I've heard that comparison, and I'm excited to see where this game goes from here.
I'm ready to be surprised. It's like, if that is true, that means there's a lot of kingdoms for me yet to explore, and I have no idea how many. I like a lot of people, I've been keeping myself intentionally blind on that, so I'm looking forward to tons of those things.
Absolutely. Go on this journey with us, listeners. We are gonna relive the excitement that you experienced in previous levels, especially if you've already beaten it.
Oh, and you don't know how excited I was that the first person I met in New Donk City, what he says, forget about it. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is New York. No, it is New York.
They just got it right.
Yeah, basically.
That's awesome. That's such a nice touch. And it's probably something I wouldn't have appreciated as much unless I lived in New York proper.
I feel like they're kind of tying it in, like, because they retcon that Mario's not from Brooklyn anymore. But I think what they're doing is they're making New Donk City kind of New York-ish, and I feel like Brooklyn's in there somewhere.
That's excellent. That's a good idea. I think you might be right.
All right. So why don't we get into some news? Because we'll always, of course, I am excited though that you and I seem to be at a similar pace through this game.
Well, playing co-op, especially if the pace that we normally play games, it's pretty natural that those are the stopping points.
Yeah,
to play. So yeah, I think we'll stick with it.
I like being at this, like where I could talk to you about it as we're at the same spot. This is awesome.
It's a great way to keep you guys updated on our journey together.
All right, let's journey off this ledge and go into the news rundown.
Yeah, let's go for it.
News rundown, and the biggest thing we have to talk about this week is the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct. So, overall impressions, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct, what did you think of this overall?
Yeah, so I was in the Discord chat while we were watching this Direct, and a lot of people were actually really enjoying it. It's some of us weren't big fans of Xenoblade before, or have no experience with the franchise, and some of us loved it since the original, which is a different, perspective on the game series. And I noticed that a lot of people were actually getting pretty excited about this, even if they haven't played the Xenoblade Chronicles game in the past. And I really want to know what your perspective is, Casey, because I don't think you played Xenoblade previously as well.
No, I haven't played any of them before. I am a renowned fan of the fantasy sci-fi mixed genres, and this does feed into that pretty closely. And so I do like this in theory. I did feel that this direct had a lot of technical details of the game in there, like they were going over like
the systems
all the systems and stuff like that, and that's stuff that doesn't get me hyped about a game. Like I kind of like, okay, if I'm playing the game, I'll worry about how the elements boost each other up and all that kind of stuff. Like I want to learn about characters. I want to see, the stories, the background, that kind of stuff. I really want to learn about the actual characters going into it.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point that you brought up, because I've watched this Nintendo Direct probably 3 or 4 times now with different people. And when they started going through the technical systems of the game, Xenoblade veterans were ecstatic about how deep this game was, which is reminiscent of past Xenoblade games. But all of the people who have no experience with Xenoblade were kind of confused and a little bit overwhelmed with the data and mechanics they were covering.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the kind of game where all these mechanics, you can like systems upon systems where like, all right, I grasp this level of elemental or, driver kind of, synergies, and I can do this much damage, but then someone else will like mastered the next thing, can do exponentially more because he's mastered the second system that layers on top of the first one, and then there's another one on top of that. Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely appealing. In fact, that's the kind of thing that I do like once I'm in the game.
Right, and I feel like the way they presented this is a little bit tricky, and I think you're right, they did stumble a little bit with the direct for this. All of these mechanics don't interact with each other directly as much as it seems like in this compressed video. Mm-hmm. You can explore one area of depth while and focusing on that while focusing on something else later. You don't have to tackle all of this information at once.
Yeah, right.
And compressing it in this presentation really made it seem like it should be more overwhelming than it actually is.
Now, some things I did like that they showed us the ecology of the world, and there's monsters that appear at different times of day. Some are herbivores that leave you alone, but you can come back to the same location at a different time, and that's when the predators are out, and they're the ones that'll pick fights with you.
Yeah, all this type of stuff is very Xenoblade, especially if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles X. It really did feel like the world around you and the monsters were alive. They all had their own behaviors. They all behaved in different habitats. The different habitats attracted a specific type of creature and a day and night effect to that. It really made the world feel more alive than I expected.
Yeah. I feel like, though, now I liked the heart-to-hearts they showed us, that you can go to certain places with certain driver blades.
Yeah.
And you'd have like a character interaction with them, and then you get to build up your bond. I feel like that was their opportunity to show me a little bit more about some of these characters. Like, who are these blades? Why do I care about them other than their awesome character designs? They all have these really crazy, different species and designs going on. But who is this bird guy that is serving me as my tank? Give me a shot by showing me one of these heart-to-hearts in a way that I could be like, oh, I actually, I have this cool party of things with me. All right, I got it now.
Right. So, when I went into this game and they did quick character bursts, or a quick character rundown at the very beginning, I was impressed at the lineup. But once they started going into the blade interactions, I started getting Persona feelings to this game.
Yeah, I can see that.
It felt like those heart-to-hearts and a driver's relationship with a blade isn't something that they're really going to focus on quite as much. Just because of the sheer number of blades available.
Then here's the thing, though. All we saw of those characters was a brief, like, one sentence and then, maybe a goofy pratfall or something like that. I still have no idea who any of these characters are. And most importantly, I don't really know who, like, the villain is or what, I really have no sense of the villain. And I need a good villain to kind of motivate me in these games.
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I can definitely see where you're coming from here. I just keep thinking about how, not all JRPGs really cover the depth of a character in their trailers. A lot of that characterization is built into the game itself, and that the fact that they didn't showcase that doesn't necessarily mean that it's missing.
No, but I didn't even see someone that I could feel like, I don't want to give me a depth, but you can tell a lot about a character just by, their design or something they say, or give me a motivation, something. All I know is there's one bad guy who stabbed the hero through the heart for some reason, and now you're brought back to life by the Blade Girl, by Pyra, whatever, and I guess I don't know now what's Jin's role. Like, is he hunting you? I guess he's hunting you to get Pyra back, but I have no sense of the consequences. I have no real sense of how cool this guy is, and he kind of looks like, nothing that inspired me. He didn't have a great villainous air, and that's a really huge motivator for me, and so that's why I'm saying I'm not head over heels for this right now. I'm not 100% sure that I'm super excited to dive in.
I feel like that's a little bit of a tricky judgment call for this specific direct. I feel like they really did want to just focus on the mechanics of the game. And
not even just this direct. We haven't seen it anywhere, though. I mean, like, I haven't seen... I'm talking about in general. Like, I haven't seen anything about a good villain yet. Yeah. Or even the hero, I don't even know that much. The hero, I guess we saw a little bit about. He's okay, but...
Sure, and I'm wondering if they're even going to go the route of having a singular villain. It seemed like a lot of the conflict in this game might be between the different kingdoms. But when it comes to story, they're generally tight-lipped about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a shame because that's the stuff that sells me on it. And all these mechanics, while cool, do very little. Because I'll adapt. This game could be stupid simple or it could be ultra complex. I will adapt and enjoy it either way if I'm motivated by the story and the characters. And so they've picked their way to focus it on. It's just not a marketing direction that gets my heart going.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. And I feel like going the route of mechanics on a Nintendo Direct isn't necessarily the best idea. I do agree. I when it comes to a Direct that you want to promote your game, I feel like the focus should have been on maybe getting to know the characters a little bit more and maybe even getting to know the blades and how they're going to come into play even further than this.
Some things people did really like, though. A lot of people are very excited to see that there's the Japanese voice DLC. That'll be a free day one download.
Now, I gotta say, I was actually pretty charmed by the voice acting in the original Xenoblade Chronicles. I love that it's a European accented voice within a Nintendo franchise. So that was really a selling factor for me. But I know this will people will really love using the Japanese voices. This is something that people like.
I personally haven't heard any voices in the English stuff yet that were so offensive. Because that's the only time I'll go to like a Japanese voice is if the voice is just really irritating in English or just seems very, fake and annoying. Then I'll switch to Japanese. Nothing yet has done that to me in any of the English voices I heard. But it's nice that this is here, and I think there's a lot of people who just Japanese voice acting, always the superior choice, and they will just go with it. So then they'll be happy with this.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
Now, what do you feel about this expansion pass they announced also for it?
Yeah, so Expansion passes are definitely a bit of a touchy subject when it comes to gamers nowadays. Some people feel like it's a bit of a money cop-out or it's a money-grabbing scheme. Again, we've covered this topic with Legend of Zelda's expansion pass. Right. I do feel like if you end up playing the game and feeling like it's a complete game, then there's no reason for you to get the expansion pass, and there's no reason for you to be upset about it.
It looks like there is a ton of content already in here, and it's obviously going to be the kind of game you're going to play for a very long time. And it looks like it's just going to be, a few extra like blades and stuff, and then over time they're going to have like some side quests added, and then down the line next year we actually will get some plot line advancements. So I wonder if there's going to be basically end game content for you to take on with your now level 100 overpowered characters, which is something that I'll say, like, anyone who played, let's say, like, a Final Fantasy game and took down all the weapons and stuff like that, you're always looking for something to actually use whatever the heck you got from beating those, like, end game bosses with. It would be nice if they threw something at you that would be appropriate for your OP characters.
Oh, that's absolutely the case for these Xenoblade games. There's going to be those hidden, gigantic, overpowered bosses that you really level up to and focus your end game content to fight.
Okay.
I love that aspect of JRPGs, and Xenoblade has that in spades. And I love that they're optional as well.
Was there anything else in this direct that you wanted to hit up on?
So I did like just the number of varied blades that there are. A lot of the designs look really cool, and I enjoy the fact that you can get multiple of the same blades however way you achieve them. But they serve a purpose in getting you experience and extra goods.
Okay, yeah. I did like that they showed off that mode where you can send your blades on missions. It seems like that's where you're going to send your generics. Yeah, because you're going to get like a lot of those like more generic blades in the game, ones that you're not going to be as attached to. Well, at least there's something for them to do, while you're actually fighting with the really cool, crazy ones.
And it is kind of funny because blades are supposed to be sentient beings. Mm-hmm. So it would be heartless to just, decraft them into improving your existing blade. So they had to find a humane justification to send them away.
Yeah. It's something to do. It's something to do with them.
Yeah.
All right, but no, overall, like I said, still looks like a very cool game. I'm just waiting for something specific before I am totally on board.
I guess, Casey, what type of thing would you be looking for when it comes to a bot, like story-wise or character-wise? What would you latch onto that would get you more excited?
Just need a character. Like, honestly, if the entire cast, even if the entire cast were people I was mad on, one awesome character that just I get inspired by, or that I just want to see what happens to them, that's all I need. One character that just is like, yes, this guy is cool. I don't care if he's a hero or a villain. I just want to be like, I want to see what's his plan, what's his deal, and what's he going to do in this game. Right now, they haven't really gone into anybody much yet.
So for me, as soon as I saw this character, I was like, holy cow, this guy is awesome. I'm trying to look for his name. I think he is, let's see, there's Akos. Akos. He's the samurai, dual-wielding samurai with glasses, and he looks really cool for me. I think he's apparently he's the brains of that particular organization, and he's a villain. But he's a samurai-wielding nerd, which looks so cool.
Very cool, very cool.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. There was other news in the world this week.
Absolutely.
And we are getting a Fire Emblem Warriors update next week.
On the 16th, they're going to include a feature called Disrobing.
Yeah, this is kind of like I like the analogy they make to like ghosts and goblins with this one.
So apparently, if you have a weapon with the weapon attributes Armor Piercer Blow, when you're fighting enemy characters and you hit them with this special blow, you can disrobe and shatter their armor to make them run around in essentially their underwear.
Well, that aspect of it only happens to the two characters, those blonde twins.
Oh, is it just for them two, or is it for all the characters?
They're the only ones that have the armor changing. The armor piercer blow affects, anyone equally and lowers their stats. But only when it hits Rowan and Liana, their armor gets destroyed, and then they enter their, less clad,
mode.
Basically looks like they're running around in t-shirts. They're not it's not like she's this is titillating in some way. It's just them running around in t-shirts and shorts instead of their big golden armor.
They also get really golden adornished outfits, gold prince and gold princess outfits, so they look really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
New updates for Fire Emblem Warriors. Very cool.
New ARMS stage was hinted at on Twitter. I mean, it seems like it's pretty definitely going to be added, but we just saw it kind of looks like a Aztec-y jungle temple stage. They just showed a little screen cap of it, and what's his name? That little mascot with the fist on his head was in there.
What is this?
Biff. Yes. And, just looks like some deep in the forest kind of level. I wonder if this is going to be linked to any new characters that are being released, because since every stage seems to have a character tied to it, I would be interested to see if this is also teasing that as well.
I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever.
Do you believe 1-2 Switch got an update?
Yeah, which is definitely interesting, because there's not much to see on the screen while you're playing the game.
Yes, because this is the update that is going to allow people to record the last 30 seconds of your screen footage on the game. But that's
such an antithesis to this game in general.
Yeah, it's kind of like the last game that needs that feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Since nothing's really going on the screen other than stick figures running towards each other or something like that.
Yeah, it's I can't believe this game is still being supported like this, so yay.
I feel like maybe it's just a testing ground. I mean, a lot of people did buy the game, and I feel like this is just the safest place to experiment maybe with this feature before they roll it out and
fully to all the other games. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. That's my guess. It's just the safest game to put this on. No one's going to be upset if, the recording didn't work right with their, cow milking mini game.
Oh man. Yeah, okay. So 1-2 Switch updates. Very cool-ish. Now, another cool-ish update that we received is from Capcom. Apparently, Monster Hunter World on the Switch will likely not happen at all.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of interviews this week, and in the words of the game's director, Kaname Fujioka, he said, unfortunately, we can't really say at this point. Of course, he's playing it safe there. There's no room to say we're porting our current software to Nintendo hardware. It comes down to what we've already said. We want to deliver the perfectly adapted game for the hardware we have in mind. Basically saying that the Switch is not the perfect hardware for the vision they have.
Which is bupkis. I really do think Nintendo Switch would be the perfect platform for a Monster Hunter game, and it's disappointing that they're going this route, especially considering just how incredible Monster Hunter World looks.
We need some Monster Hunter. We just need some Monster Hunter.
We do.
I really don't care which one. We need one of them, and it'll be the best one just because it's on the Switch. That's all.
Yeah.
I only even mention this story because I usually don't bring up these kind of just, little rumory things. But because it was contrasted so perfectly with a Blizzard interview where they said basically the exact opposite thing, where Peter Whalen, who is the senior game designer there on Hearthstone, that we don't have anyone working on Hearthstone for Switch, but it is the perfect system for it, and it is something that we, end quote, absolutely something we'd explore in time. It's just something they want to do when they get around to it. And, they have a lot of projects. I'm sure there's a lot of expansions, but it's on their minds, and I do feel like it will come, especially with all the mobile-style games that are already on Switch or being ported to Switch all the time, Hearthstone is a no-brainer.
Yes, and once Hearthstone comes in, maybe they'll bring other Blizzard games too.
Ooh.
Like Overwatch, hopefully.
Maybe.
Overwatch. Anyway, well, the next story is actually pretty interesting to me. It's from Suda51. Apparently, the Travis Strikes Again No More Heroes game may be playable with a single Joy-Con.
Yeah, interesting. He kind of said it like it not that it necessarily needs to be, or that it, but it almost like an intentional restriction on the control design that will help them improve the overall design of the game.
Well, okay, Suda51 is always really into being quirky and out there and unique in its own way. And I feel like this is one element that he's trying to not distance himself. It's trying to make his game stand out above others of the same genre.
Yeah. He also threw in one very small comment in here that I thought was pretty awesome. He said, also, this is a serious love call, but in order for Travis to be able to appear in Super Smash Bros. Someday, I'd like to have simple controls.
That's so awesome. Oh, Suda51, you have such a personality.
Isn't Travis, though, like, wouldn't he be a pretty good...
no, he would be a great Super Smash character, actually.
Yeah.
I really think it would fit in that game, and it's hilarious that Suda51 is really gutting for a spot in the next Smash Bros. That's hilarious.
I will also say, though, if he does do this with, controls with only one controller, I imagine some of the mini games or some of the modes in this where we're going to be jumping between all the different indie game worlds will utilize a second player being able to interact, or maybe even some sort of co-op ability in the game. If you're going to have all the controls able to be on one Joy-Con, obviously that means you're going to try to take advantage of the fact that there's a whole other Joy-Con waiting to be used in some way.
Yeah, that would be fun. A co-op mode or multiplayer mode in that game would be very fun to have.
Yeah, even some silly little versus mode like Kirby always works into his games.
Yeah, exactly.
The exact opposite kind of thing was announced for Snipper Clips, though, where they have always been based solely on one Joy-Con per player. Apparently now they finally have an update coming that will allow you to play it with a full Joy-Con or a Pro Controller.
Oh, okay. So, that's definitely a contrast from our previous story, but good on them for allowing this functionality. I have to say, I do prefer playing the game with two Joy-Cons together instead of individually in one Joy-Con. So it's good that they're including this functionality, because I would want to play it that way starting from then on.
Yeah, because now more people do have, because that was like a launch title, so it made sense that it would be, the focus would be, one Joy-Con per player. But now I think a lot of people have either sooner or later got either a Pro Controller or some cheaper equivalent over time, that it's something you could rely on people just having around.
You're right. Now, speaking of platformers... our next story is Rayman Legends Definitive Edition getting an update. Now, I did hear lots of stories and I saw videos of just how big Rayman Legends' load times were and how...
Oh, really?
The frame rate was kind of choppy. That was actually one of the big selling points for Rayman, is that the frame rate was so smooth and it really made the platforming experience feel AAA. But yeah, apparently on the Switch, Rayman Legends wasn't performing that well. So it looks like they are releasing a patch update now that would actually fix all the frame rate issues and load time issues that the game was experiencing on the Switch.
Okay, very cool.
So good stuff.
Also with an update, VOEZ is getting a pack of 14 new tracks, keeping it going in the 1.3 update. I'll say they've been updating it way more than I expected. I expected maybe we would get that one, maybe a second update on the Switch version, and they would just kind of move on to something else. But again, this is at least the third update pack so far.
Yeah, I feel like they're really working hard to justify that $25 price tag, and it's working for them.
Yeah, and I kind of like the pace of them coming out. They're coming out at a pretty good little steady clip. You know, you wait a month or two, but it's, you know, it reminds you the game exists and you go back to it. But yeah, so anyway, I'll probably have a clip of one of those songs in the transitions.
Oh yeah, good. It's nice stuff. Now another big news story in my opinion. I feel like this is a big deal for both of us, Casey. Apparently, Square Enix has been said that they are going to aggressively explore making new games for the Switch, and they aren't going to rule out any IP for the platform. Which means...
Any IP?
Yeah, any IP. So maybe Einhander?
Ooh, okay. That's going way back there. That's
I love an Einhander.
I mean, I'm just looking for... I'm sure the first thing that means is we're going to get a remake of Final Fantasy IV on here. And Final Fantasy VI, because that's just what they do. I mean, I don't know what... I'm really not interested in their old IPs anymore. I like where they're going with their newer ones, and I think that's where I want to see them focus. I want to see them focus on things like the Bravely Defaults, the Octopath Travelers. I like this direction they've found in the most recent years. And I mean, if Final Fantasy, 13, 14, 15, 50X comes over, great. I'll be happy for it. But I feel like they finally kind of found their way in the way they create new IPs recently.
Well, I considering just the sheer number of IPs that Square Enix has, I welcome their support regardless of what it is.
Yeah. And also remember, they own a ton of games that we don't think as Square and that they could bring over as well along with this here too.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just the RPG. They own don't they own Hitman?
Yeah, I think so. I want to see a list real fast.
Mm-hmm. I think they own Tomb Raider at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, they do own Tomb Raider. They have Deus Ex, KC, and I love those games.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one, yeah.
Human Revolution. They have Thief, Legacy of Kain. Yeah, so I would love any of that stuff, even if it's not Final Fantasy. Yes, please bring them over to the Switch. You know what? I would really want a Kingdom Hearts for the Nintendo Switch. That's what I want. Yes.
If they made it another numbered one, not 345 by 27
58
days
over 2 days.
Dream dropped it. Just make... wow, wait, did Kingdom Hearts 3 ever come out?
It's not out yet.
No, it's not out yet. It's
coming out next year.
It's only been like 18 years. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. But, you know what? If they bring over a Kingdom Hearts game, I just want them to make it simple, and I just want it to be clean. So...
Good one. No, that just reminded me I want to play World of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's
That's it. That's what I want. I wanted to bring World of Final Fantasy. I called that one in one of our previous episodes when we were, just predicting stuff a long time ago.
Yeah.
I want World of Final Fantasy on Switch.
That would be fun. Honestly, perfect platform for that game. The Switch would be perfect for it.
And we are getting the Champions Ballad DLC in December.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited that we finally have a release window for that DLC too. I'm really glad that it's exploring the champions, because those guys are really cool.
Yeah, so we'll be able to dive into that very soon. All right, so down the pipe, we got Penguin Wars was just showing off a new trailer for it. That's coming out next year. It looks like it'd probably be on the early side, and we got to see some of the newer graphics with it. Previously, we had only seen it, the original kind of like NES style graphics with this, and they showed off a few more modes, and this actually looks like a pretty fun little multiplayer game with up to 4 people tossing balls at each other, trying to score points. It's pretty fun looking game.
Now there's Ginger Beyond the Crystals coming out. It kind of looks like a Super Mario 3D clone. It has a bit more muted colors than a Super Mario game, and the characters obviously aren't as iconic, but another platforming game of this style is always welcome on the Nintendo console.
Yep. We have this game called Detention, which looks like a pretty creepy little horror game with a setting in the 1960s Taiwan under martial law, which is already kind of like just would be a tense place to set any game, but it adds these elements of religious elements based on Taiwanese, Chinese culture and mythology, and it had a lot of disturbing imagery in this trailer here.
Yeah, honestly,
sufficiently creepy.
It wasn't gory or bloody, in any way, but it was unsettling. The graphic style, the way it's presented, is unsettling, and I think it's setting the tone that it's going for really well.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Now, Bandai Namco apparently announced that they're going to bring 3 big Switch titles next year. We don't know.
They haven't announced what they are, but they announced that they will announce them next year.
Yeah. Bandai Namco has been hitting it out of the ballpark with these past few years. They've been releasing really great games, Dark Souls, Ace Combat, Tekken. So those are all franchises that are really awesome. I want them to bring the more anime-style games like Gundam Versus and Dragon Ball FighterZ. But yeah, they have a lot of franchises and IPs under their belt, and I'd love. I'm
sure we'll get at least one Warriors or Musou game.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Gotta be.
Yeah, it probably will.
Or how about a sequel to the Pokemon? What's it called? The Pokemon Nobunaga's Ambition crossover.
You know, that would actually be really great. Pokemon Conquest? I would love a Pokemon Conquest on the Switch. I loved that. It was simple, but I just enjoyed the aesthetic.
All right, so the new releases we have out now, as of this episode's posting, we have Farming Simulator, Nintendo Switch Edition, Sonic Forces, and the Sonic Forces episode Shadow, Heroes of the Monkey Tavern, Morphite, Chess Ultra, people are still begging me to start tournaments for that, Super Beat Sports, Wheels of Aurelia, Neo Geo's Art of Fighting 3, Sparkle 2 EVO, and the physical version of Retro City Rampage DX.
Now on November 9th, there is Talomir, Cole DX, Octodad Deadliest Cash.
Yeah, I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, but I would like to play that on the Switch. Maria the Witch, Super Putty Squad, and Spellspire.
November 10th, we have Snipper Clips Plus, Cut It Out Together. So we got the advanced version of that with the new features, and already Doom. I feel like that was announced like yesterday. How's that already coming out?
Yeah, I'm picking it up immediately, by the way, Casey.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of us are actually excited for Doom in the Discord chat, and the multiplayer seems like it'll be fun.
Yeah, no. Totally. Very interested to see how that turns out.
All right, so November 14th, we'll have Rhyme, It'll Do 2, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, Rocket League, which is another thing everyone's excited for.
Yes.
Lumo, LA Noire, which I'm personally excited for, Ben 10, Pinball FX3, and Batman the Telltale series.
Have you been able to start playing Rhyme? They did send us a copy of that one.
I thought we weren't supposed to talk about it.
Well, you're not supposed to talk about the game. You can talk about that you're playing it.
Yes, we've been playing it. It's a long-running game. We will be talking about that.
Okay. All right, let's mosey over to the Community Pulse and seal this one in the books.
Okay, so let's start with Andrew Epperson. He said, $39.99 for Monopoly is the most ridiculous pricing decision I've ever seen. Even if I liked Monopoly, I don't believe anyone truly ever has. There is no way they could pack $40 worth of content into it. I don't personally like Monopoly. $40 for a digital version of Monopoly is not great, and I've heard terrible things about the specific Switch version as well, so it's hard to justify that price.
Amelie, you had a Monopoly on your phone, right? How much was that? It was free. Monopoly was free on Android App Store, and it had a lot of good features and was perfectly playable, either solo or with people, and $40 for the Switch version of it. See, That does seem a little exorbitant.
It seems very exorbitant for Monopoly. You could buy Monopoly at a garage sale somewhere for 25 cents, probably.
You could buy a brand new. You know what? This is the only time I'll say. You know what? If you're gonna buy that, just buy the Monopoly Gamer Edition, like the physical one.
Yeah, we've actually badmouthed Monopoly a lot at this podcast. I'm sorry for all you Monopoly fans.
I didn't get to join in last time, though. You got to badmouth Monopoly when I wasn't here.
Well, we also didn't talk well of it when you were talking about your Monopoly Gamer experience.
Yes, but now's the digital one. Yeah. It gets a turn, too.
Gosh, Monopoly. Oh, boy. Yeah, I heard there were even performance issues for it. Like, it took super long to save stuff or load, and it seemed like it was
If anyone who's bought it is found value in it, let us know. Go post in the Facebook group or come to the Discord, because I really, really want to know. Tell us why we're wrong and invite it. All right, Benjamin Leville wrote.
Or is it Levelle?
I'm going to say Leville.
Levelle.
Levelle. Okay, fine. Benjamin Leville wrote.
That's the worst.
You guys spoke about EA and why they are so up in the air with the Switch. I honestly think it's due to Nintendo's online being so up in the air itself right now. We really don't know anything about it other than the app that no one uses. EA just released a statement a few weeks ago where they spoke about their focus going forward will be online and less single player. So I think that could be a huge part of it. That's actually a pretty fair observation.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's one element that EA really likes focusing on, and Nintendo being a bit iffy on their own online infrastructure can contribute to this EA's reluctance overall. However, a lot of third-party companies are releasing online games on the Switch without as much of a stink. Like Bethesda, with the upcoming Doom game, is releasing an online multiplayer first-person shooter. It's gonna run on Nintendo's online infrastructure, and it doesn't seem like they're having that big of a problem with it. So, who knows? It's really hard to get into the mind of EA's corporate overlords.
But no, I mean, that could be very well their reasoning, this being like...
It could be part of it. It's also possible that they want more control over maybe microtransactions, and it's more difficult to set that up on the Switch. It's possible. That type of stuff is... who knows?
Yeah.
So Dreams180 said, what's the indie momentum looking like for Switch now? Have all the most hyped ones already come out? Or are there still indies to be excited about? So, we actually have the Chucklefish team, or some Chucklefish members hopping into the Discord chat every once in a while. And a bunch of their games haven't come out yet, so right there, indies to be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, to name the few, like we are still expecting Wargroove, which is something JV and I are mutually excited for.
Right.
They still are supposed to have Pocket Rumble coming out, and I did recently see a post by one of the devs saying, actually soon now, but he did specify, we've been wrong before, so this probably means nothing to you, which it does, since we've been waiting for that forever. Dandara still hasn't come out. That was one of the ones I really enjoyed from last Penny Arcade Expo.
Right.
And I'm still waiting for that to come out. So that's
another
that's
big one. Mm-hmm. Ukulele hasn't come out on the Switch yet. Ukulele. Yeah. So a bunch of indies on the Switch. And there are a bunch of indie games that have expressed interest of being moved over to the Switch, but haven't been announced. So I don't think we're ever going to lose the indie momentum on the Switch at this point.
Yeah. See, the thing about them is you forget about them. The ones that that aren't out yet, you forget they exist for a while. And then all of a sudden it releases. You're like, oh, right. That game that I saw like a glimpse of a year ago. It's out today, and
it's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Edward Alexander Galvan said, with the holiday season around the corner and stores announcing deals, what are some of the better Nintendo bundles or deals that you would recommend? Now, I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of Best Buy's Gamers Club Unlocked, and they just recently posted their Black Friday ads for the Nintendo Switch, and some of the games they're putting up on sale are incredibly priced. One of the games that caught my eye was Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 for $19, which is normally on sale for $50. That's a huge price drop for Black Friday.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I'm probably going to do what I haven't done for a while. I did this back on some of my other podcasts, but I'm going to probably try to post on the homepage, and I'll make some announcements on the Facebook group and the chat. But I would follow all the Amazon announcements of like their deals of the week, or what their next best little, like, here's an hour to get this deal. What do they call those? Like a blue light special kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or the flash sales, what do they call them?
Flash sales, something like that.
Yeah. I would post those on there, and then you can click on the links. And again, those would be affiliate links and help us out. But I will try to keep up with and post as many of these flash sales as possible in all of our mediums. So, just definitely check out our networks, our social networks, and we will try to steer you in the right direction.
Man, we haven't done that in a while, have we?
Yeah, I know. That was a while ago, but
yeah,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work following
it
those.
It really is, but yeah, we'll try to keep you up to date on that stuff, everyone.
Yeah. And, now, we could do it once a year. We can go and tell people when there's good sales.
Now, it's kind of funny because right here I can see Monopoly is already immediately on sale for $20 on Black Friday.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so maybe it's worth $20. Who knows?
You know what? It's worth ending this episode right now.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
See ya. Bye.
Done. So anyway, please support us on patreon.com/theswitchcast. The Patreon is really where we get our most support and what we use to keep our servers up, get everything rolling as smoothly as possible, and keeping up with all these game reviews that you guys like to listen to. So please support us on Patreon. Another non-monetary way to support us would be to rate us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, like Google Play, Pocket Casts, all that type of stuff. Please rate us as much as possible. It really helps.
And if you just listen to this show, congratulations. That's perfectly all right, and we love you for listening. But you're honestly missing out on half of the experience of the SwitchCast if you're just a listener, because we work extra hard to make this a community of gamers where you can log in to either our Discord chat, join the Facebook group, or follow us on Twitter. And we organize all the time, just times to play games, to talk about games. We're those kind of people. We
have a zero tolerance policy for trolls and trolley type behavior, so we're filled with a bunch of really cool, really friendly and supportive people, and I encourage you guys to join our communities and have a good time with the people there.
Yeah, we're always excited to see a new name. New names get all the attention for the first week they're there, and then they become just one of the crew. So links to all those things are going to be in the show description.
Yep, and gotta say thank you, HeatleyBros, for the theme music, and until next time,
switch it up, y'all.